I feel like I really need to start going to more film festivals. Like, I know I recently watched a fantastic comedy thriller by the title of Detective Dracula, and I was roaring laughing along with everybody in the audience. I really hope it gets more traction on the festival circuit soon. It really deserves it. Question for you: what is the creepiest short film you've ever watched? Let me know in the comments, and let's review some that scare the life out of me. For starters, ever heard of The Dollmaker? No, not the award-winning Jane Fonda movie, but that's also worth a watch. It's a creepy short film infused with some light, heartwarming moments, and then some really dark, heartbreaking moments, all culminating in a climax that is just one big WTF moment that'll leave you reeling. The short film is a skillfully disconcerting exploration of maternal love and the disturbing manner in which it tears a family apart. Ooh, I know that. It opens with a grim moment of a red-cheeked small human in a coffin, invoking a sense of morbidity that would come to haunt the entirety of the narrative. Unable to let go of their dead son, the couple finds itself making their way to a doll maker. The latter can briefly make them forget about the death of their son, with a fair warning to never let the illusion overpower their sense of reality. So, in the mother's arms, and inside the four walls of the Dayton's home, so that's the couple, the doll comes to life. Or at least to the mom, it seems to be alive. But outside of the home, it's just a doll. Now, to the dad, he's like, okay, this is all poppycock. And one day he's like, I'm done with my wife's crazy dependence on a doll that she thinks is, well, their offspring. So he snatches it away. And of course, this act comes with horrific consequences. As a horror story would have it, the characters, of course, overlook the warning, and they find themselves incapable of paying heed to it, and bada bing, bada boom. The Dollmaker is a deeply engaging story, sure to satisfy admirers of horror and otherwise. Albeit not entirely fresh, it is an interesting and engaging comment on the indomitable human desire to bring somebody back from the dead and seek transitory relief, as shallow as it might be, from loss and pain, even at the cost of complete self-annihilation. Now, this isn't your run-of-the-mill horror, and it doesn't rely on jump scares or monsters to propel the story forward, but instead the viewer is deeply invested in a strange story that chooses to portray the psychological mind of a grieving mother, and a father who is on the end of his tether, as well as the crazy things one does for love, which can be fatal. It also explores how grief can suck one into an endless abyss from which, there's usually no return. Perry Lorne as the grieving mother is believable. Sean Meehan deserves accolades for his performance as a father who's just trying to make sense of the absurd situation and is also trying to hold on to his wife before he loses her to her own grief-stricken mind. Daniel Martin Berkey sets the absolute right tone as the creepy dollmaker. Also, some of the cinematography is impeccable, and the viewer won't even notice that this is probably a shoestring budget production. According to the director, there's been a full-length movie in the pipeline for a while now, so I'm really hoping that comes to fruition instead of being stuck in, well, developmental hell, or just shelved for tax. Next up, we've got One Last Dive. This movie might almost be exactly 1 minute long, so pretty short, but it's a masterclass in suspense. A police diver in search of evidence at a cold underwater crime scene makes a final effort to further investigate and goes for one last search. Now, the chief wants to wrap it up in 20 minutes. However, what the diver is about to discover is utterly unexpected and fiendishly gruesome. It builds to one hell of a jump scare too, and even manages a twist ending, which again is very impressive for a 1 minute movie. It's also appropriate that it was created for the release of The Conjuring, which itself features the terrifying hand clap sequence, which is an effective horror short film on its own. So it was greeted with well-earned praise in 2013, and 3 years later it was confirmed that a feature-length version was in development somewhere. So this short was created as part of a collaboration between Vice and James Wan's, well, The Conjuring, which I know, I already said it, but I wanted to make sure you knew, with the theme being that former filmmakers had to create shorts based around the Devil's Hour. Now, they would all have one common theme. They all had to take place at 3:07. And if you're a fan of The Conjuring, you know why 3:07 is a very creepy time of night. Now, the first short was an incoherent jumble. Like, I watched it, all I could tell was that a seance was involved, I think, and then the people recording it freaked out at 3:07. And the second was creepy and had a great filming style, but no narrative. But this One Last Dive, was the major standout, because even though it was only a minute long, it hints at some intriguingly ghostly lore. So assuming a movie version happens, it would be so fun to see how the filmmaker expands on the concept. And like, I've watched this short about like 10 or so times over the years, and it still scares me. I have a feeling that my love of Let Me Go the Right Way is partially due to my love for Brian Darcy James, so you're gonna have to let me know your take in the comments. If you want to talk about a Nepo baby movie for the ages, you've come to the right place. Time to break this down. So, it's directed by Destry Allen Spielberg, Steven Spielberg's daughter, written and produced by Owen King, Stephen King's son, and starring Hopper Penn, who was none other than Sean Penn's offspring. And luckily for all of us, the talent from the parental units was definitely passed down to this incredible trio and everyone else involved in this passion project. It follows the story of Aiden, a bank security guard who has become convinced that his life is being manipulated by some sort of outside source. So this prompts Aiden to make an appointment with Dr. Kemp, played by the incredible Brian Darcy James, a man who claims to specialize in all things weird. Initially, Dr. Kemp is a calming, supportive presence, whose insights into Aiden's difficulties promises an encouragingly positive prognosis. Over multiple sessions, however, the relationship between the doctor and his patient begins to take on new ominous shades. As Aiden's condition fails to improve, and actually worsens, he begins to question the kindly Dr. Kemp's intentions. So if you haven't guessed already, this film is designed to immediately cast doubt on Aiden, making the viewer question the reliability of the film's primary protagonist. He claims that someone's been altering his things, noting that he has observed subtle changes in his life that range from his belt buckle being a different color to his record now containing a parenthesis in the song title. So after listening to Aiden, Dr. Kemp prescribes him a once-a-day pill and a single beer to wash it down, a combination that he believes should help Aiden take the edge off. Yeah, because booze is totally legit medical advice. Instead of proving effective, the pills only seem to exacerbate the problem after Aiden returns for his next session, this time reporting that he received a warning about taking said, little guys, from a mysterious woman on his bus. Now, not wanting to discredit Aiden's encounter with the stranger, Dr. Kemp is like, okay, stop taking the pills. After all, they were prescribed to help you. But if Aiden believes that they're harming him, then they're only going to worsen his condition. It's here where the audience first begins to question if there might be some validity to Aiden's delusions. Where his first claim seemed so small and insignificant, the idea of someone giving him an ominous warning about continuing to take his medication makes you start to wonder if somebody is interfering with his life. It's during his third visit that the viewer is thrown for so many unexpected twists that it will have you second-guessing any opinions you might have had about Aiden, either positive or negative. For it's during this third visit that Aiden appears to have lost whatever grip he had on reality. So he now claims that his coworkers have been referring to him by a different name, and that he's convinced that Dr. Kemp is the source behind all the unexplained events in his life. He even went so far as to make allegations that the good doctor had been sneaking into his home and messing with his things. Now, at first, this might seem like the ramblings of a madman, but what if Aiden's ideas aren't so crazy after all? Also, how much do you know about your doctor? Whatever we thought we knew about each character is completely shattered in the closing moments of the film, with so many questions left unanswered as to who all the players really are and their true motives. Is Dr. Kemp really who he claims to be? Or has he been playing Aiden this whole time, making him the unwilling participant in one of his twisted experiments? Or is it Aiden who's been manipulating the doctor, luring him into a trap? This film's gonna have you guessing everything until the last seconds of the movie and even beyond the credits. It is a psychological film that only gives you fragments of the picture, leaving its viewer to try to put this puzzle together, only to realize they don't have all the pieces. I absolutely recommend getting a group of people together to enjoy this absolute mind meld because it's so fun. Just watch brains go. Here's a good creepy as heck title, Eel Girl. It's the flip side of Shape of Water's tender love story. So Eel Girl is a horror short written and directed by Paul Campion, and the story takes place in a secret Navy laboratory and sees a scientist who is infatuated with the titular creature, and he breaks protocol so he can see her. Now, the Eel Girl is a humanoid creature being kept in this research facility, and we don't know anything about her origin. She looks almost entirely human, but possesses some features that don't make sense, such as webbed hands, sharp teeth, and gills. She can open her jaws like a gulper eel and swallow prey up to the size of a fully grown man whole. She feeds by fooling her victims to get close to her via seduction, even though she can't speak. Okay, Ariel. Well, the setup is, yes, kind of similar to The Shape of Water, which, by the way, was the first sci-fi movie to win Best Picture. The outcome is very different, and I wouldn't recommend watching this one alone. Okay, as if I was gonna do a list about the best horror short films and leave out Lights Out, I'm extremely biased towards David F. Sandberg, and that's partially just because he's such a nice guy in person. So the goal of most short films is to scare you in less than 3 minutes. And this film did such a good job, and so uniquely, that it became a major theatrical sensation. So on a dark and rainy night, a woman, played by Letta Luston, comes out of her room and turns off the hallway light, which causes a long-haired, human-like silhouette to become visible at the other end of the hallway. Now, surprised, the woman turns the light back on, and the silhouette vanishes. Switching the light off and on, she watches the silhouette appear and disappear, stopping when the silhouette suddenly moves so close it is inches away from her face. Now gasping, she turns the light back on and tapes the switch in that position to prevent the silhouette from returning. So she goes to bed, leaving the lamp on her bedside table on and the door leading to the lit hallway ajar. But she hears creaking sounds and looks towards the doorway. The hallway light starts flickering and eventually turns off. Now, she's obviously scared, and she hears footsteps approaching the bedroom and hides under the blanket. After a few seconds of silence, she's like, okay, take a little peek. Now the door opens even wider by itself, which absolutely terrifies her more. The lamp flickers, and now from under the blanket, the woman looks towards the power strip it is plugged into. She nervously reaches out, locates the plug, and pushes it in more firmly. The flickering stops. The hallway light clicks back on, and she sees it's on, and the door is only like slightly ajar this time. She's like, whew, relieved. But unfortunately, she suddenly sees a monstrous humanoid with all white eyes and an open mouth at her bedside table. The monster turns off the lamp and the screen goes dark. So this film was such a success that it actually got turned into a full-length feature and catapulted Sandberg into a Hollywood directing career. Now, while I loved the first Shazam, I just can't wait for more big-budget horror movies from one of my favorite directors. Alrighty everybody, that's it from me. I've been Alexa, your resident Ookie Spooky Girly. And hey, if you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by, giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, hit the bell for more short film recommendations from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.